figuring out what you're going to be when you grow up.
Yeah,
So
right here.
It's kind of like okay, well, this is my new avenue, and I'm gonna do this, and then what does success look like in that realm?
Yeah.
Do you have somebody that you're emulating? Do you have somebody that you've seen that you're like, that's the guy I want to be, or that's the person I want to be, or is it really just this is your thing and you're...
No, I think I think with anything it's influence, right? So like there's always been influence of or reason, and then the influence that you get when you like look for these reasons, right?
Sure.
So not having a lot, not growing up, with whatever it was, wanting to fit in, and then dealing with the emotional side of poor me, why me, things like that. And then there was moments. So for example, influence-wise, Tony Robbins, man.
Okay. He's the man.
He was I was living on my fourth grade teacher's sofa for like 6 months. Like I was sleeping there, right? And I was like, I gotta fucking do something.
Yeah.
And because 6 months, and then after 6 months, people are like, dude, get the fuck out.
Enough of you. You gotta go.
Like it's nice. We're trying to be nice to you.
Yeah, I've extended a warm welcome. Yeah, it's no longer warm. It's cold.
Fucking 6 months. And so I realized that, and I was like, all right. So first thing I did, I was like, okay.
Now, how old were you then?
I was out of college.
Okay.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
So you were 22-ish.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know. It's hard for me.
Well, out of college, 18
is it out of college?
Did you do 4 years in college?
Was it out of college? I did.
Okay, so you went to college at 18, you got out at 22.
Right, but I don't know if it was before or after college, because I got kicked out. I got kicked out a couple times.
Let's go with before. It was before you went to college.
There was a couple times. I'll remember.
And it was your fourth grade teacher that took you back?
Yeah, because she was all right. Cool. So in fourth grade, again, I always had like ahead. I was like ahead of a fourth grader, right? Because like I saw shit, I had to like talk to adults and be like, "Here's my mom's bill payment," in English. So I would ask. There'd be like these conversations. I would ask her, be like, "Man, this kid is whatever," and then she actually knew about like she would know, right? Like I would share my mom's kind of fucking nuts, this and this.
Yeah.
And so like there was then this like care. She became like a almost like caring for the individual.
Yeah, you mattered. Yeah, you mattered more than just a student.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then we would always have that. She graduation, so she was there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then a couple times I got kicked out. Like that one time I got kicked out, I was like, hey, I got kicked out. I got no place to go. She was like, their family was always welcome. But 6 months, way too long.
Yeah, that's a long time to be on somebody's couch. 6 weeks is a long time. 6 months
right, man. Oh, I know. Thinking about that now, right? I don't even know 6 months yet. That's fucking
Well, the
long.
question is, if you had somebody in your life, would you allow them to stay on your couch for 6 months?
Yeah, I think if it was me, probably. If it was me, probably, and I had sort of.
And it would depend upon the person.
But
right?
then, of course, there had to be some sort of like.
Yeah, like what are you doing?
Yeah, not just kind of like enabling and letting go. Yeah. I think that was tough too. So yeah. Sure. So I took my ass to not Starbucks, the library, Barnes and Nobles. Yeah. And I was like, all right, self-motivation, self-help book. Yeah. And then it was the Tony Robbins book. Yeah. So back to the point though, influence. Yeah. That. So that type of like, I enjoyed that aspect of like, wow, man, this fucking guy makes me feel good. Let me go do something. Yeah. And that's where I really feel this is,
absolutely
the thing. And like when people listen and people comment, and sometimes people like give me like I guess my love language is like just appreciation when they appreciate appreciation.
Sure.
That's it. That's all I need. It's like, hey man, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've known you now long enough, and we've spoken enough times that you have an interesting go around, right?
Yeah.
Like just where you came from.
Yeah.
What you've done. How you go about doing things, and then your outlook on things. Right. I would say it's not traditional,
right.
But it's cool to be part of. It's a different energy that you don't get from the majority of people you run into. So
right.
I think it's cool. You know what I mean? I enjoy your company. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder what the fuck you're doing. That's okay.
Okay. Well,
it's only because I care about you.
So give me a good example. Give me a good example of that. Like, what the fuck are you doing, Wilson?
Like you have like this going on and that going on, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to day trade, and I'm going to produce videos, and I'm going to do a podcast, you know.
Doing it,
So, like, you have mad talent. It's just a matter of you figuring out what that focus is going to be. You know what I mean? And I think if this is what speaks to you, then this is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
You know, because life is about experiment, but sooner or later you got to nail something down so that you can kind of build upon that.
Yeah.
Okay,
like,
where is this going to lead,
it.
and what's that going to lead to? And then people want to be around you, and they want to do business with you, and they want to be part of something that you've created.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be your aha moment, so to speak. Like, oh wow, this fulfills me. This brings me that piece of joy. And then, of course, money is money, right? We all need to make money. So what does that look like for you? How do you monetize this?
Right.
And then where does it lead, and what does it bring you to? What point does it bring you to?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that's where we've been, more and more clear. Like when I was talking to Patty too, she was like, it's a podcast, because anything I've done, all right, I feel like anything I've done, the outcome is good energy and people feeling like, for the most part.
Sure.
Like obviously there's situations.
Yeah, nobody has a bad taste in their mouth.
Right. And then there's always that, like when there's a first initial meeting. I think like for me it's like first initial meeting, and then there's this energy that people are like, oh my God, this guy's pretty cool.
Sure.
That's what, and then connecting just some of these thoughts and like getting people to feel good about themselves.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Really
You're good at that.
Yeah, so
you're good at that.
Right. So would you think, if I would ask you if that was, out of all my character traits and things like that would you pick that as number one?
I think the way you have about you is not something that most people will ever encounter in their life. They're going to encounter that with you. So it's a positive thing. It's a wow, this guy has an energy about him that I want to be part of that. I want to touch that. I want to feel that. I think it's great, and I think that's what makes you stand out from everybody else in the room. Right. Everybody has something about them that people gravitate to.
Right.
With you, it's a positive energy, and it's a like feel good. Like, oh, I want to be part of that.
I want to fucking hang out with this
guy. I want a piece of that. I want
to hang out on the podcast with him.
Absolutely. I want to do a podcast.
Just to hang out, right?
Just to chat, and like,
good.
So many people have so many different life experiences, and shit you would never think. You're like, wow, I didn't know that.
Right.
David Goggins is somebody that I'm just like enamored with. Like, here's a guy that, again, shit life growing up and 325 pounds or whatever,
crazy.
And just makes a decision one day that's not going to be me anymore.
Flip the switch.
Mind over matter. And, you read his book and and it's like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? But you exude that kind of like, can do anything, or, like anything you put your mind to, you can do.
Yeah, you can do it.
Wilson says, I can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? And it's a nice feeling. It's nice to be around. It's nice to feel that when you're in your presence.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, when I'm good, because when I'm bad.
Yeah, well, when you're bad, none of us are good to be around when we're not right. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's part of you figuring out you. That's part of you going, okay, this is going to be my routine. 5 days a week, I'm going to do this, and this.
Yep.
I'm going to work towards this. I'm going to start to see, financial results. I'm going to start to see emotional results and physical results, and I'm going to put that all together, and that's going to be my thing. And then you can that's not working. Let me take that out. Let me try that,
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that for you is, what am I doing? Like where am I best suited? What does that look like for me? What lane do I belong in?
Yeah.
And you have a lot of lanes that you've fucking drive.
Still creating, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's uniquely you, but I think it makes it harder on you. I don't think, maybe it makes it harder on Patty too, but it doesn't make it harder on people but it does make it harder on you because what am I doing? What, nailing it down kind of to whatever. And listen, it's going to be ever evolving. You partnering with somebody else, I'm sure that kind of tweaks you out a little bit. Like, you're a creative genius, but at the same time you said, I can't do it all myself. Well, you know what? That's growth. That's realization. That's adulting.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't do it all myself. You know, I struggle with that every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if I don't do it, it's not right, or if it's not good enough, or whatever. You know.
Right.
And that's where, you know, with my business, training up my guys to be cognizant, and then go to a house and have a customer say, man, your guys are just fantastic.
Yeah.
They made sure of this, they did this. Yeah. You know, I didn't have to ask them, they did that. Yeah. You know, and it's just part of kind of leading by example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's, as you continue to grow and find what that path that fulfills you, you know what I mean? And your desires, I think you'll take off. You've been successful at everything you do.
Right.
You just haven't focused on one thing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to maintain success if you're bouncing around between 5 different things. You know, it's like a juggler.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's valid.
You got 5 different color balls.
Yeah.
Which ball would you label Wilson? I don't know. All 5.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You know, so that's hard. That's hard for you because it's kind of.
Yeah, even to the listeners, so, you know, sometimes I'm like, hey, I'll be back.
I gotta figure this one out.
Because consistency, right? Like the more we post, like if it's like 2 a week, it's, you know, there's valid consistency there. That sometimes I feel. So I have to let them know, like, hey, I'm glad I'm back. I had a hell of a week.
I need a minute. You know, and listen, we all need a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I had this conversation with Angie the other night. She's like, you know, is everything okay? Are you happy? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, you're so quiet. I'm like, I just need a minute. You know, sometimes you need that time to just like. It's better that I don't talk to anybody because I don't have anything nice to say. Yeah. I don't like anybody, so I'm gonna pet the dog because you know that you know, and give me, you know, 20 minutes to get my thoughts together so that I can put either that day behind me and I think you and I have had that conversation about, you know, after I got divorced and, you know, I have kids and you want to set an example for them, and it was, you know. You leave that hat outside. That hat you wear at work stays outside because, and I try and do. I try, you know. And sometimes it drags. You know, the hat follows me in the house. You know,
right.
But you know, I try and, you know, work is work, and you know, there's going to be constant stressors. There's going to be stuff that goes wrong. There's going to be, you know, I get text messages and phone calls all hours of the day and night. And I want to be angry about it and pissed, but like that's a blessing, right? Like I have people calling because they want an estimate, or they, you know, they want to do something. Well, I have to take that as a blessing. But sometimes, like on a Friday night, it feels like a curse.
sorry, John.
No, you're good.
It's Friday night.
This is fun. But you know, my phone. I'm like, let me silence my phone because it seems like people get done with their work week and then they're like, oh, let me call John and see if I can, you know, schedule a, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I try to schedule estimates just a couple of days a week because at the end of the day, you get home and then, you know, there's some stuff that goes into my estimating. So it's like, all right, I got to look online. I got to find out square footage and, you know, whatever. Sometimes I need to figure out what their name is because I forgot what their last name was, but I know that, you know. So if I can do that a couple days a week and have a couple nights, and so that's something that I've kind of tried to go to.
You're working on right now?
Yeah, working on, you know, like 3 nights a week, do estimates, and 2 nights a week, have a chill, you know. And Mondays are always overwhelming, so I've tried to kind of keep my estimates not on Mondays, even though it's nice to get them done early in the week. So like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and that way Friday, if anything's hanging over that I haven't been able to get to or get out to people, you know, something that I've always prided myself on is I'll get you an estimate tonight.
Yeah.
And part of that is it's competition, right? Like I want you to know that I want your business. I appreciate you calling me.
Right.
But some nights you get home at 8 o'clock at night, and the last thing I want to do is sit down at the computer. So now, you know, like the last couple of weeks, and it's funny, you know, like I've been in business for myself for 7 years now, and I'm still learning, you know. So it's just a constant, you know.
Yeah,
what works for me? What works better for me? You know.
Well, so let me ask you, as far as nothing changes until you do. So you made that change. You're working on making that change specifically in that line of vertical within your life because there was a moment that you like connected that was affecting you.
Yeah.
And
so
what was it that was affecting you? Like what feeling did you get from it? And then how did you I got to change something
It just constantly feels like somebody's got their thumb on your back.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's
how do you
funny.
describe it as a feeling?
Yeah. So the kids are out of the house. So I'm an empty nester now.
Right.
And my kids are my life, and I worked really hard to make sure that they were successful and they're doing fantastic things away at school. So now I'm like, well, you deserve to have some of those spoils. You know what I mean? I'm running 8 or 9 guys on a full-time basis, and we're business is increasing year after year. So there has to be a point at some point where I can take a step back and go like, okay.
Catch my breath.
Yeah, look at the flowers, smell the roses, enjoy the company of the person you love.
Right.
Spend more time with friends.
Right. Like this.
Go do a podcast.
Yeah, this is great.
And then go to so we are doing more stuff like that, and we've been doing it for the last 4 or 5 months, and I feel better. I feel better because I'm getting out of the house. I'm not just, going home and doing paperwork and then sitting on the couch
and
kind of vegging out
and then
getting up and doing the same thing again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, outside of what I'm doing out of the house during the day, I try, we went to trivia a couple weeks ago. That was fantastic. We're going to a concert tomorrow night.
Nice.
So trying to do one thing every week on top of everything else. And, the change just comes that I start to feel sorry for myself. It's weird, making money, so it's not that the money's not there, but it's like,
wow, that's crazy.
What's the reward? Money's great, right? Everybody needs money. You have bills to pay, and it's nice to go on vacation and do whatever.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what am I doing for myself to make myself happy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy, especially when you have the money to do it.
Yeah,
you get a massage, John.
Angie will say like, well, it's a lot of money. I'm like, I'm not taking it with me, and I've worked hard to be here. Yeah. I'm not going to, deny myself these opportunities now, because as you start to get older, you start to think about like, hey, I'm I'm on the other side. I'm not quite over the hill, but really, if the hill is halfway, I'm probably over the hill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Me too.
So trying to put that stuff in perspective and enjoy life and enjoy people that you love and care about, and really just have fun. So much of my life has been dedicated to business and family, and I wouldn't give it up for the world. It's, we talked about focus, right? Like, when I started out, I worked 7 days a week. I did whatever I had to do because I was going to be successful. And aside from my marriage, which, I can joke about it now, but like that was the only thing I've really ever failed at in life. And that was tough for me. That was it's a two-way street, but it just felt like I could have done more, right? We both could have done more. And luckily we're great friends, and we both have wonderful, new partners, and we spend time together and everything. But, that was something that, bothered me for a long period. Like when I first met Angie, when I reconnected with her after 37 years, I said like, hey, just so you know, I'm not getting married again. And she felt the same way. She had been married and divorced, and really what it came down to was like, I did that, it didn't work. I'm giving up on that.
Right. I'm good with it without it.
I feel much differently about that now, and that'll be something that we kind of,
So that's changing too.
Listen, at the end of the day, here we go back to, you want to surround yourself with people that you love and that that you're loved by.
Make you feel good.
And that girl, I've never been loved by somebody else like I've been loved by her. So that feels good.
It feels good.
You know what I mean? And that's part of that change too.
Okay.
Because I want to be a better person for her. Because she, there's no question. Like I walk through the door, I know I'm loved.
Yeah.
I don't have to. Nothing. You know what I mean?
Right. There's no question.
No, and it's easy.
Same thing.
And when I say easy, like it's easy. You know what I mean? We touch each other's hand, whatever it is. Like it's okay if she wants to watch TV in the bedroom and I watch TV.
Yeah.
It doesn't lessen the love that's there.
And it doesn't become an issue. It's not like an issue.
No, and it feels good. It just feels good.
So has that come from making those changes in the business? Like I would assume that like prior to like making those efforts and taking that action, like there was probably less of that or more of the opposite of that. So this actual change is actually.
So she's good for me because she reminds me that, you know, you have to have downtime. You have to have time to for your body to recover, right? Yeah. A couple years ago, we went through the whole losing the toe thing.
Right.
You know, that wasn't necessarily.
We'll talk about that too.
That wasn't necessarily business related.
Right.
But that was kind of like an aha moment. Like, you know, here we go. Yeah. You know, life is short and shit happens. And
now
you got 8.5 toes, whatever, you know.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, that kind of starts to put things in perspective, and it starts to go like, okay, you have people who are working for you, who are competent, they're well compensated, and they can do the things that you don't need to do anymore.
Right.
And again, I'm not good. I'm kind of a control freak.
Yeah.
But part of the reason I'm a control freak is because it's led to the success that I've had in multiple businesses. Making sure that the customer is thrilled when we leave. Making sure that, you know, at the end of the day, their home is treated as if it was our own.
Right.
And it's made a difference, and it's made a difference in the fact that, again, still to this day, most of our business, 80% of our business is referral business.
Referral business.
Couple of advertising here and there, but for the most part, and the cool thing now is we've been in business long enough that we're starting to get the customers that we did 10, 12, 15 years ago.
Awesome.
We're going back to their house.
So
it's you know, you go back, they're older, you're older, you know, they're like, the kids are in college, they were babies when you painted, you know, so that's kind of cool too. We're starting to get some of that.
Very cool.
And but it puts things, it kind of puts things in perspective, you know, like their grandkids are going away to college, and you know, so it's an interesting dynamic in that, and that's something, you know, that I haven't had an experience with before, where, you know, you're kind of like, okay, it's coming full circle.
Yeah.
Or, you know, people say to me, hey, I see your truck, I see your guys, I see your signs, I see, you know. It's just kind of cool because we've been in this community since 2002, and people know us.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And they know your reputation.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So.
So let's talk a little bit about growing up, and then what led you to influence yourself to be that type of person for, you know, obviously being focused and also the success that comes with that.
Sure. So
was it tough growing up? Was it easy?
No, my childhood was great.
Rich? You were born rich.
No, I would say middle class. So here's what I tell people. My dad at Christmas worked 3 jobs to make sure that I got a new bike. He was a New York City firefighter. Exactly. He worked in doing moving, and then he worked like part-time at TSS, which was like a Target back in the day. And I remember that.
So
you know
busted
what I mean?
his ass.
I remember like, where's Dad? You know, like come October, you didn't see him until like he showed up Christmas, you know.
Wow.
So, you know, I remember those days. You know what I mean? My mom was a lunch lady at school, which was great. So I got to see her every day, just about, you know, in school.
Wow.
And then, you know, my dad was a great guy. He was an alcoholic, but if there is such a thing as a good alcoholic, he was a good alcoholic. You know, was friendly and happy, and you know, he went out, he fought fires and saved people's lives, and came home and he drank a case of beer. You know what I mean, in the backyard. You know,
but he was nice.
He was great.
Was he like a nice drunk?
He was a great. My friends loved him. You know what I mean? For me, you know, there was times where it was kind of embarrassing, you know, because like if he drank a case and a half, maybe he got a little sloppy, you know. But never a nasty word. Never, you know. I had a fear of him just because he was a big dude and he was my hero, so it was kind of like that. But I had the advantage, too, of having a brother who's 11 years older. So I had him to look up to as well. He was a business owner when he was 18. He had a roofing company. You know, so as I grew up, I started to work with him until we eventually became business partners in a cable contracting company when I was 22, 23 years old. So, you know, owning my own business was something that I decided I wanted to do as a bartender. Because as a bartender, I could dictate how much money I made based upon the level of service I provided.
Right. Okay.
So once I got married, it was time to get out of bartending. My brother called me. He said, hey, I'm going to Wisconsin and I'm going to start a cable contracting company. Why don't you come check it out? Okay. So we went. And
wait, for the people that may not know what cable contracting is.
So we spliced coax and fiber optic cable, which is basically what your TV system runs on.
Yep.
The fiber optic upgrade that we were working on is what allowed you to have internet run one way and telephone run another way. Right?
Okay.
Nobody has a home phone anymore.
Got it.
For a period of time.
Before.
Yeah, for a period of time.
You can get on
the internet was
phone
the
internet.
you can be on the phone and on the internet at the same time.
Look at this. Wow, okay.
So not to shy away from my childhood was great. I grew up on Long Island. It was a great place to grow up.
Yeah.
I had great friends, great neighbors. sidewalks. All your bikes were in front of whoever's house you were at.
Yeah.
Grew up fishing. My brother was an avid fisherman still to this day.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time with my brother because my dad worked a lot. As a firefighter, he was away for a day or two, whatever.
And what about your brother as far as like influence? Obviously, if he started his own business too, he was an entrepreneur. Did he also had like that laser focus, or was it a little bit different?
Yeah, so the roofing company, he had that, and then he got a bar. I think I was like 15 or 16. He opened a bar, so I got to work in the bar.
Yeah, so you've seen success.
Yeah,
like you're like
it was
seeing it.
Yeah, it was cool.
So
he got a bar,
yeah.
And had great success with that.
Cool.
And then we had the cable contracting company kind of after that, and then he wound up in Key West. He made friends with the guy who invented the Wonder Bra and became business partners with him.
That's crazy.
And ran a hugely successful restaurant. And it had a downstairs, it's the only pool in Key West restaurant. Upstairs was a fine dining Prime 951. It's where Emeril Lagasse used to eat when he was at that. So he's retired now. He's retired now, but being his business partner was interesting because he's very anal and very, so I was like, you handle the paperwork shit and let me go out in the field with the guys.
Right.
So at one point we had like 40 guys working for us, and we traveled the country for like 5 years. We were in Branson, Missouri, we were in Fort Dodge, Iowa. Yeah. We were in Wisconsin, all over Wisconsin, and it was cool. I mean, we made really good money. And we got to see the country. We spent some time up in the Canadian border, up in North Tonawanda.
Yeah.
Went up to Canada for the weekends and hung out. So it was a cool lifestyle. And my brother and I obviously, became closer at that point.
Yeah.
And then that was done. So the last project we had together, we got beat for like $70,000 because you were always 6 weeks behind. They paid you 6 weeks behind. Well, the company, it was Charter Communications. They went bankrupt.
Yeah.
So they go bankrupt. They're like, sorry. We owe you 70 grand. But, and we had paid our guys and stuff. You got to pay your guys.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that. So had gotten married.
Wait, can I say that? I can see now, like by even just a little bit you gave me about your dad and your mom, even like having your mom as their lunch lady.
That was great.
Like, right.
My buddies loved it. It was... Right. Many cookies as you could eat.
That's what I'm saying.
Extra strips of bacon on your sandwich.
And that explains always taking care of your people, right?
Yeah.
Like you're one of those people that always takes care of your people.
Absolutely.
Goes above and beyond. Like when people need help, even like within the group B&I, like whenever someone's like you're always there, either giving or sponsoring or whatever. Yeah. So I can, and I'm sure the same thing with Dad, right? Dad was probably equal.
My parents
both were just angels.
Yeah, everybody kind of loved them. Loved them.
Very much like you.
They were, they were good. They held you accountable. They made sure that you did the right thing.
Right. Okay. How would they hold you accountable? Did they smack you around or not?
No, I never got smacked.
Was it just
life.
more of like?
Hey, I think I got beat by a spoon once. I remember like being a young kid and my dad screaming at me and like me peeing my pants. You didn't need to beat me. You know what I mean? Put in your room, stuff like that. But no, never anything physical.
Right.
I never had a curfew, but I knew my mom didn't go to sleep until I came home. So I was respectful of that because.
So you internally were like, let me be respectful.
I'm like,
she's like, that's not fair to her.
Well, I was diagnosed at 11 as a type 1 diabetic. So that kind of forces you to become a grown-up real quick. Okay. You know what I mean? So obviously my parents were supportive of that. I had a great medical team, stuff like that. But, when at
11, you're already like, but that's what I'm saying. You're probably already.
I was an athlete. I was a 3-sport athlete. Yeah. I got diagnosed 6 days before school started. And I just said to the doctor, like, hey, football season starts in 6 days. I got to be at school. And I was there the first day of school. They were like, we've never seen anybody take to, drawing insulin. And I'm like, I got to go. I got shit to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. But the responsibility part, you know what I mean? Like, I would go to parties with my friends and I was the sober one. Yeah. Because I had to be, so to speak. You know what I mean?
So where does that come from? Like like looking at mom and dad, like can you give like I would assume obviously it's that because it's how you grow up.
I think it was probably a big part my mother. Right? So my mother was always the champion for me. You know what I mean? Like she would go to bat for me. She would do anything in the world to make sure that we had what we needed. You know, dinner was on the table. Yeah. Whatever it was. You
Extra
know what
cookies
I mean?
for the homies.
Whatever the guys needed. You know, if you played football, you loved my mom. You know, so she was in school. We went to school 7 and 8, 9 and 10, and 11 and 12. So she was in the 9 and 10. Okay. And my buddies to this day, like they'll comment on Facebook, like, you know, my mom's passed now. They're like, man, we used to love to go in the lunch line. We always got extra cookies, or we always got extra bacon on the BLT.
Cool.
You know,
cool.
so it was cool. It was cool. Right. You know what I mean? Now, you know, when your mom works in the school, you gotta be on the up and up. Aside from being an athlete and the coach is holding you accountable. Right. I got in a fight, ninth grade. Kid was picking on another kid, and I had enough, and I basically rode him down a flight of stairs, and there was all this stuff, whatever, and my mom, you know, like the principal, whatever, like people, the leadership at school understood why I did what I did. Right. But you can't fight at school, right? Right. So then, like, my mom walks in, and she got that mom face on, and I'm like, I'm screwed, you know. Yeah. And got home that night, figured, you know, I'm punished. You know, I got suspended for 3 days, or whatever it was. And I kind of snuggied up to her to see, you know, and she was like, you can't do that, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'm glad you did it. And I was like, all right. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was for the right reason. Right. You know what I mean?
Did she know the kid too?
She knew the kid. Yeah. He was a troublemaker.
Yeah,
he was a troublemaker.
Right.
And so like I say, I had just had enough, and you know, same thing with the coaches. You know, my football coaches were like, "Oh, you're gonna run till you throw up," and I think I threw up once, and they were like, "All right, you're good, right." You know what I mean? So yeah, that responsibility, a lot of that came from her. That nurturing, kind of, you know, whatever.
Like pretty cool factors, because not everyone has, like, you know, their mom is a lunch lady, and then on top of that, like a mom that is awesome.
Yeah. You know, and that's it. You know, and sort of, you know, my dad, I yearned for more attention from my dad. Yeah. Okay. Like one of the things when I had sons was I wanted to be their coach, because I always wanted my dad to be my coach. Yeah. And you know, between working and drinking, there wasn't really an opportunity for that. Right. And I probably, you know, in hindsight, you know, it's funny because my son called me the other day. He's playing flag football in college. Cool. And he said, hey, I just wanted to call and thank you. Yeah. Now, it's never good to be the coach's kid. Right? So I coached both boys. Jack played for me for like maybe 5 or 6 seasons. And then he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, all right, I never made my kids do it. They didn't want to do it. Well, I coached Ryan for like 22 seasons. Okay. And it was contentious. You know, I had an expectation of him. Yeah. I knew what he was capable of. Yeah. He didn't. Yeah. And so it was bad at times. For sure. I mean, it caused situations with my ex and I. But you know, I would say to him, you know, I wish Grandpa would have coached me. I wish, you know, whatever. And you know, coaching is something that even now I miss. Like, right. I'm toying with the idea of coaching the Special Olympics. Okay. Because the parents.
You just can't yell at them.
No, I know. I know. Well, you know what? They can yell.
Yes, you can.
We can yell. Like,
normal
we'll cheer. But, you know, like, as the kids got older, it became more and more evident that parents don't have a separation between kids playing football, kids playing baseball, and fun. You know, and it became contentious. You know, I had a great group of parents that I coached for, and a lot of the parents out there are wonderful, but there's always a couple. And I said, you know, I don't want to do this. You know, I've been opportunities come, you know, like, hey, can you come back and coach? We really, you know, we need coaches. Everybody, you know, everybody's a coach from the sideline. But nobody wants to put the whistle on and stand on the other sideline. 100%. You know, so that's something. But that was something for my child. Like, if there was a down thing, it was like I wanted to play catch with my dad. Not that we didn't play catch, we played catch, but you know, some of my other dads were coaching me in football or coaching me in basketball, and you know, so that was something that, you know, I started coaching soccer when the boys were like 4, and then I gave that up at 6 because I don't know the game at all. It wasn't fair. I didn't know the rules. I was like Just go kick a couple kids and see if you can kick
Pick
the
up the
ball
ball and put it in the net.
That's it. Whatever you're gonna,
No.
And it's hurting cats, and I coached T-ball,
but
flag football was something that they did. So when he called the other night, I said to Angie, like, all right. It was worth it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? All those years,
all that shit, all that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and then we were moving offices. The kids are out of the house, kind of. So I took over Jack's bedroom to a certain extent with my office, and Angie found a picture, and she's like, "Oh, there's Ryan." I'm like, "Yeah, and that's Jack." Yeah. So the boys were on the same team. Of course, it was the Giants. Yeah. And it's a picture of them kind of pursuing a kid to pull his flags. And it's the only picture I have with both of them on the field at the same time.
Oh, what a great photo.
Doing what I was coaching them to do.
What a great
I didn't have to yell at them. They actually did what I, So it was really cool. So that was, the other night was kind of like all right.
Yeah, That's right, you do a happy dance. Yeah. Well, let me, because you kind of brought up too, when you were having turmoil with your kiddo, and then you would bring up, I wish my dad was doing more of that, because I've seen that too. I
think I did it once because you know what, like they never knew my dad like that. My dad was grandpa and he was fun and whatever. But there was moments of time where I probably went too far with coaching him, and there was a period of time where he went away and played for a buddy of mine, and he just excelled. Right. And then I was like, you know what?
Exactly.
He wanted to play with me again. He broke his leg that season, and then we were done. Yeah. So, but sometimes I think those expectations that you put on your kids or the people you love, they're unrealistic. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I need you to play quarterback. Right. I don't want to play quarterback. I don't care what you know. And it was like that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And then, so between, I guess, whatever the situation was going on and back and forth, and then probably the underlying, like, damn, I wish my dad would have done it. You don't understand how good you have it kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of, like, you know.
Right? Has that, like, have you worked through that, or is that something that you sort of identified recently?
Yeah, no, it's something that, I knew it's the moment that my first son Jack was born, that I was going to be an active part of their life.
No matter,
It didn't matter if I had business, and I worked a lot of times. I worked 7 days a week, and I did that for the first 2 or 3 years of both of their lives. Yeah. And then, my ex kind of reeled me in and said, hey, like, I'd like to go to the beach with the kids, or I'd like to, So, sometimes you need those reminders, you know what I mean? I've always been a money-motivated person. Yeah. I would still work 7 days a week. Yeah. I just would. Yeah. I would. Yeah, I like money.
But then we can't sit here and do the podcast on a Friday.
Yeah, I like money. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to go to work tomorrow because there's some stuff that needs to be done. And you know what? I could put it off till Monday, but I can do it tomorrow. And it'll get me out of the house, and it'll make me feel good. And the customer's going to come home Monday, and things are going to be done. And they're going to be like, wow. Right. So, as far as working through stuff with my dad, like, it is what it is. He was a great dad. He was a great provider. He led by example. Yeah. He was a hero. He ran into burning buildings for a living, and he worked 3 jobs to buy me a new bike every Christmas. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's certain things like, when you look back, there's like, I wish this would have happened, but then there's also the other side of it where it's like, look at all these things that, did happen. Yeah. Or,
So when I was 17, he got deathly ill. He got pancreatitis from drinking. Almost died, like a 50-50 chance.
Did that change his drinking?
Oh, it stopped it.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mom, she probably was an enabler his whole life, more or less. Right. She, whatever. And, I found out after that, but her thing was, you can come home, but you're not going to come home and drink.
Right.
So the funny part to go with that is he comes home, never has another drink.
Wow.
Always used to bust on everybody. Oh, everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. Right, my friends. Yeah. But
afterwards.
Yeah, just whatever. So about 2 months later, my brother's ex-wife shows up at my parents' house, and my dad gets out of his Ford Bronco with a case of Schaefer beer, and she freaks out. She runs to my brother's bar. She's like, "Oh my God, your dad's drinking again." My brother's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So my dad calls my mother. And my mother's like, no, his friends are coming over. My dad's thing was, listen, I can't drink anymore, but there's no reason that my friends who used to come over and have a couple beers with me can't come have a beer.
Dude, that's crazy. I hear that strength.
So
that's crazy.
It is. It really is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like that was it. He was done. It was his new lease on life. He got sick about 2 years, about a year and a half after he retired from the fire department.
That's crazy.
And
that's crazy.
once he was through that, then he started driving like a minibus. You know, a lot of the kids were special kids, and so he was just the best bus driver. I mean, they loved Mr. Mike. You know what I mean? He had decorations, and he'd decorate the bus and bring in whatever. And so, you know, my father and I kind of got a second shot, a second chance. Yeah. And him and my brother and I did a lot of offshore fishing together. Oh, right. You know, and just funny stories about, you know, he sat on a bird offshore. This bird was with us for like 7 hours. Yeah. It was a little like tuna chick, and it was tired, and it was sitting on the side of the boat and
chilling.
He just, you know, he got a soda and a sandwich. He sat down, and somebody was like, "Where's the bird?" And he's like, "I don't know." So, you know, it's just things like that, you know, and that inspired me, you know, as the kids got older to get a boat here, because those moments with my dad were some of the best, you know, even though I was older and more of an adult, those were some of the best moments and memories that I have with my dad, because we just had a great time, you know what I mean? And he enjoyed himself immensely. He was one of the guys, and it was really, you know, there was 6 of us that fished together basically every week. You know, we tournament shark fished, we tuna fished, we did all kinds of stuff. So that was a cool thing. Yeah, that's a cool memory that I have. Again, he's gone too, but that was a cool memory. You know, and then when I got the boat here, I got to take the boys out with him, and so it's just kind of a neat thing. You know, like their memories of my parents are special to me. You know what I mean? That's sweet. Like we're going to New York in December. Yeah. My sister lives in my childhood house. My parents had put a little house on the back for them. Nice. And it's still to this day, for me, weird to walk in there. My aunt's living in there, and I love her and I love to see her, but it's just a weird feeling and it's weird for the boys because they used to spend summers. They'd go up for 5 or 6 weeks to spend time with my sister and my parents. So, you know, that's a different, you know, but they have these wonderful memories of fishing and doing other things with that,
it's sweet.
Know,
so you saying that there's like I felt like it felt good. Like it felt good that you experienced that, and then I questioned my own stuff that, you know, what we've done, and then the first thing I think came to mind was actually doing something like taking trips back, like more to Jersey, like or having them come here, right? Like I should actually have them come here. Same thing with Patty, because like, you know, most of her family is not here, like Vegas.
And that's the hard part, you know. So I'm the one who left. Yeah. Like when I moved, I still have the card at my house. But when I moved to Florida in 1993 with my ex-girlfriend's dad. Mm-hmm. So he was like a second dad to me. Yeah. He never had a son. I was like a son to him. Yeah. And we moved to St. Augustine. And the card I got, and my mother wrote it, you know. But it was basically, you know, here's $200. We wish you the best of luck. Yeah. You always have a place, you know. And you know. I see it with Angie and her boys being in New York now, but like I could tell by my mother's voice, and she could tell by mine if something was off. Yeah, you know, with my dad, it was just bullshit. You know, like, how you doing, buddy? What's going? You know, but you know, it was just interesting to have that dynamic. But it is, you know, my brother's in North Carolina now, and we went to New York. I don't know, 2 months ago. We have a buddy that we used to fish with who's got terminal cancer, and we were both. I said to him, listen, I don't want to go to his funeral. I want to go see him now. And we went, and we just had a fucking blast. We went out. We went to a bar and restaurant we used to hang out at. Obviously, Jeff can't drink, you know. But we spent 2 hours, and we just laughed the whole time we were there. Sweet. And you know, spending time with my brother. We've started a tradition where we go away every summer with my boys and Chris. We've been to Costa Rica a couple times. We're going to go to Panama this coming summer to fish. And so that's a special thing that's kind of come out of family and that reconnection. And, you know, listen, family can be family, right? Like, we're going to see my sister. We're going to see... So my sister, right, hasn't seen my brother in 5 years. Okay. That's so he calls her my sister. Yeah. Oh, your sister called me, blah, blah, blah. And so now I bust him and say, your sister called me.
Shout out to your sister and your brother.
She told me she was going camping on Long Island and wanted one of the kids to come, and they couldn't go. And it just so happens it was the week that we were going up. But I'm assuming she goes camping on Long Island, right? Like there's a bunch of campgrounds. Yeah. Well, no, they're in Connecticut. So she was mad at me for a period of time. And he's like, oh, your sister's mad because we're not going to get to see her. So we're going up in December. Cool. She had bought a condo here when the kids were little. She used to come down. Yeah. She was a school teacher. She's retired now. Cool. So that family connection is important. You know what I mean? And my kids have a great relationship with her and her husband. They have a great relationship with her kids who are now adults who have children. Yeah. So it's a cool dynamic to go and spend some time up there.
Yeah, I love it.
Eat good food and go to a Giants game and hope that they can win one.
Hopefully. Come on, man. It's just one, man.
But just to get away and engage, you know, and you know, listen, you know, family can be difficult. You know? I don't have a bad thing to say about anybody in my family. Like, I really grew up in a wonderful place with wonderful support from wonderful people, and it continues. Like, my sister would do anything in the world for me. My brother would do anything in the world for me. You know, my brother is our financier when we buy investment property. Like, hey, I need a couple $100,000. Like, I'll send it tomorrow. You know,
fantastic. It's always giving, but in a positive
it's great.
way. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's great.
So what I gather is for people, you know, even people listening maybe going through something like that, or you know, same thing, like sort of seeking something they didn't have, or repeating something. I think it's like creating these rituals, or what else? What's another word for ritual? You said it.
I said it already? Yeah. See, now you put me on the spot. I forgot.
Well, you know, traditions, right? So family traditions. So I feel like this would be a good one to think about, or, you know, for anyone that's going through it, or even myself, it's like, what are some things that, you know, we seeked or we didn't have, and then what can you create now with those people close to you, and then kind of change that thing, or even if you had something before, you know, are you currently doing it? If you aren't, then why not? And then if you enjoyed it, then start again. You know, find a way to start again. Because like you said, even go to New York, or your trips to Jersey and Vegas aren't like thousands of dollars, right? Like you can go
out there. And, you know, you
200,
can.
300 bucks.
You know, I don't stay with family because I like my own space. But,
likewise.
But like at the end of the day, you know, again, we go back to like we're not young, and you know. Yeah. Family members aren't, you know, my brother's 11 years older, my sister's 10 years older. Right. So, you know, they're in their mid 60s. You know, I don't want to go like, oh, I wish I would have, you know, done, you know, and the trip with my brother, I was like, let's go. Yeah, you know, you're retired. He's got plenty of, like, let's go. Like, we got nothing but time,
right.
You know, and it really, you know, doing that and spending time with him. And, you know, we went out one night and we drank far too much and whatever. But, you know, sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I'll think about that night and that time that we spent at Smoky Bones. And it kind of like, all right, well, that's why you're busting your ass. That's why you're doing, you know, that's why you know.
That feeling that you got.
The same thing with looking forward to trips with the boys. You know what I mean? Like, they're away at college now. They got a lot of stuff pulling in different directions or whatever.
It's kind of like me.
But,
I'm in college.
You know. They're having more fun than us. I promise you that. They're having a lot more fun than us.
Yeah. Definitely staying up as much. Like, I'm staying up as much probably.
Yeah, when they talk, they're like, oh, yeah, I was up till 2, and then I had class at 8, and then we partied all night. Yeah. And I'm like, I used to do that. I used to do that. I'm like, listen, it's 8 o'clock. You're calling kind of late. Yeah. But, you know, it's funny. You know, I love the relationship that I have with my sons because when they call because they're excited about something, or, you know, when FSU beat Alabama, Ryan's a freshman over at FSU, and he called me, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "This is the best fucking day of my life." And I thought, oh, that kind of sucks. Like, we get some pretty good days, but you know what? Like, for him to have life experiences like that and be able to call his dad and just be like, "This is fun," you know. It was a cool feeling, you know. And just cool. sharing different things. And, you know, the funny thing about them is they've always been competitive, and, you know, it'd be nice if they were both at one school or the other, just for simplicity purposes. Right. But I think it's wonderful that, you know, Jack's at Florida and Ryan's at FSU. Yeah. Ryan's 14 months younger and has kind of lived in Jack's shadow his whole life. Yeah. Because Jack's the older brother. Yeah. Jack's an overachiever. Yeah. Jack's a straight, you know, Jack got this scholarship. Yeah. Jack got that, you know. And here's Ryan, more or less doing the same thing, but at a different place. And, you know, Jack got a full ride academic scholarship to Florida. Cool. Ryan got a full ride academic scholarship to FSU. Florida was like, oh, you can go online for a couple of years and then come, you know. Yeah. So it's just weird, you know. And I said to him, listen, you go where you're wanted, right? Like especially if somebody's going to pay for it. Yeah. You go where you're wanted. Yeah. And they want you, and that may not have been where you wanted to go, but it's going to be the best experience of your life. Yeah. And I feel like it was a God wink, that first football game. Like, I got you, kid. You know what I mean? Like, what's, that wasn't supposed to happen. Right. So it's just kind of a cool thing. Man. You know what I mean? And I've tried to be that dad that was approachable. I don't judge you. You know what I mean? Even when they were here, like, hey, you want to go out with your friends, that's fine. You need a ride, call me. Somebody's doing something they're not supposed to be doing, you want to get out of there, call me. Yeah. You're going to have a couple of drinks, don't drive home. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I've been there and done that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a different, it's a generational thing. Like, I wouldn't have done that, called my parents. I would have probably stayed, whatever.
Yeah, why do you think that?
I don't know. I guess maybe I feared my parents more than they fear me, or just is it like different? Life. Like I think when my parents were, 16, 17, 18, they probably, my dad went into the military, and my mom, I don't know that they had the life. They didn't go away to college and stuff, So I understand what that looks like. Right. I understand that, they're not supposed to drink at 18, but it's going to happen. Right. And the reality of it is, I would rather them trust me. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And be honest with me than not.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, I think you're right on it. Generational beliefs that sort of progress.
Sure.
Based on
and some of it for good, and some of it, whatever.
Some of them for get off your iPad.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's the reality of today. Is it's different. Yeah. You know what I mean? We didn't have those. The rules were, you did your homework, you had your dinner, and then you went outside till the lights came on. Mm-mm. And don't have it get dark enough that I can't see you out wherever you are. You know what I mean?
This is for you.
When I was a kid. Yeah, when I was a kid. When I was a kid. The kids were born in Florida. Florida's a little tough in July and August, but we put a pool in at our house that we had because my rules were out. Like, kids belong outside. Yeah, that's a good idea. Kids belong burning energy. Yeah. If it's thunder and lightning and you want to play whatever, okay. Yeah. But you're not going to spend all day in your room socked up. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like and, they became athletes as they got into high school and runners. And, they had a coach at FPC, Dave Halliday, who... He's like the coaches that you and I had as kids. He's old school, and I love that. Yeah. You know what I mean? He tells it like it is. You had a great practice. I'm going to tell you that. You didn't have a great practice. I'm going to tell you what I thought of it. And I think that was advantageous for them too, because it helped them become better men and more responsible men and stuff like that. So
that's sweet. Leading back to influence. Let me start this episode. And we'll go. Okay. Yeah. Because it's perfect. What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, Spiritual Hype Man. I hope you're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. And we are here with John Gilvary, a great friend of ours. And today we get a chance to talk about your life, John.
Absolutely.
John's like, we just talked for an hour.
Yeah, what have we been doing?
I'm just kidding.
Everything's out.
Usually I start it like that, right? Gotcha. And then we go in there.
Well, we went right in.
Yeah, we went right
both
in.
Both feet
in.
Yeah,
but it's cool because I want to, in case there's new listeners, based on who's following you, like who wants to listen out to your story. So nothing changes until you do. The concept, the macro level is throughout life, we go through a bunch of situations, right? So situations over a long period of time, and that is basically our life. But those situations, there's moments of decisions that we have to make, and that creates that outcome, which then creates the next situation.
Absolutely.
And then so for some of us, or throughout our lives, there are moments where we make decisions that these outcomes, we get to a point where we're not very happy with, or we don't feel good, in terms of what we want to get, right? And so the concept is, okay, if it's cyclical, because usually most things are, figure out what those are, identify them, and then from there work backwards and far. Okay, like what was the decision? What was the emotion that drove the decision? Yeah. And then what was the thought that drove that emotion? And then where did that thought come from as far as my influence?
Sure.
So influence creates thoughts, or develop thoughts, or whatever vocabulary you want to use. But influence thoughts, emotions, decisions, decisions, outcomes, and then that becomes another situation that leads you to your next.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ever changing, ever evolving.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the whole concept of working through things or talking through things, whether it's, how you grew up or the influence that you had. But, obviously going back to everything that we've talked about, it just sort of hits home. One, the influence, I can now more understand, the person that you are,
Sure.
always going above and beyond,
Sure.
always doing what you want,
Sure.
especially in being super active with the kiddos, because I know that is something I've noticed, especially running track. So you went from like painting to going to meets and doing everything you can, taking them fishing, all these things.
Never miss anything that you could be part of, because that's what your kids are going to remember. You know what I mean? And it's funny, because getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to drive to the other side of the state to watch a kid run for 22 minutes, it's life-sucking. Yeah. But you want to know something? Angie said to me the other morning, I kind of miss going to
doing those things.
I said, well, we can still go. She's like, hell no. But listen, at the end of the day, like, there's no better feeling than you're watching your kid cross the finish line or score that touchdown or hit that home run, and them look over and see their parents, see that person that they look to for everything, basically, be there for them. And, you can't go back and do it, right? You only have one shot at that, you know what I mean? And the kids have thanked myself, my ex-wife, Angie, Laura's fiance, just thanks for being there. Because it matters.
Right.
You know what I mean? It does matter. And there was so many kids that you don't see those parents.
Right.
Well, and that's hard. That's hard for kids, because they're looking for that support, right? Yeah. That's the way they build their, what change are they looking for? They're looking for somebody to give them an attaboy, even if they had a horrible race, or even if, they didn't perform as well as you think they're going to perform. At the end of the day, they're just looking for that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and life is busy.
Right, and who isn't, right? Like, who isn't? And that's why I think you've done a great job generational of keeping these things, these positive, like, reinforce, like, what you provide as what mom and dad provide in your environment, and then you've done that with the boys, which is great. Because
I still listen. I coached 100 kids in flag football over the years. I still touch base with as many of them as I can, especially this year when they went away to college. I was like, make sure you eat before you drink. Just all this different stuff. And the boys are sending me pictures of this kid doing that, and listen, I'm not their father. Right. They have a father, most of them, but it's different. We went on a cruise for Ryan's graduation. There was 9 boys. I had coached 8 out of the 9. I gave them $50 a piece when we got on the cruise, and I'm like, spend it wisely. So they all went to the roulette table the first night. They all won.
Oh, nice.
First night, every single one of them won.
That's awesome.
So they thought they were a hot shit. So the next night, we leave dinner. They're like, we're going to the roulette table. I said, good luck. Hope you win again. Yeah. Prepare to lose. Yeah. Nah, they got 18-year-old full of piss and vinegar.
Lost it all.
All of them lost it all. All of them lost it all.
That's funny.
But it's just, you have to try and be a positive influence on kids, because they have so many different things pulling them, whether it's your kids or somebody else's kids that you have an opportunity to influence on. I have a kid that I coached flag football who he came from a tough situation where his dad murdered his mom when he was 7. He came to play football for me when he was 8, and I coached him up through 15, and he's working for me now. His grandmother called me. I call her grandma. She called me. He got out of high school, kind of was dabbling. I don't know if I'm going to go to college. And she said, hey, coach, I need you to, I need you to hire him. And he's a great kid. I got him back in college. He's doing online college and working with us. And it's kind of cool, like he just moved out. He moved in with his girlfriend. It's cool to see that, in kids. In kids, like, I help with that. Cool, you know what I mean? So I like that. I like to see people succeed, no matter who it is. I don't like to see anybody fail. And if I can help them in any way, then that's something that I want to be part of.
That's fucking awesome.
It's cool. It's cool. It's a cool feeling. You know what I mean? It's a cool feeling.
Very cool.
Even they have that bowling thing for Make-A-Wish. Like, how do you not be part of that? Like, these kids are going through the lowest points of their life. And then you get to see a couple of these kids at an event like that, and they're smiling, and they're with their family and their siblings, and they're having fun, and it's like, this is what life's about. I mean, life sucks, right? Life's hard. There's a lot of strife. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of different things, but you have to celebrate the good stuff.
And I think there's moments like that help you reflect, right? Because it's similar with Yes, You're Invited. The first time we went there, and I saw the kids sort of doing whatever they were doing, like in karaoke. Both Patty and I, Patty's like, I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah, I want to be part of this. Yeah,
got me. Because I was like, God, this is. Yeah. These kids don't even know. I'm like, they don't even. They have a struggle which is way different than what we think.
Yep.
And it's just like, God damn, it's like.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that. And then you have a parent, right?
Yeah,
like a parent who's dealing with a special needs kid.
Right.
You know
that's,
what I mean?
That's crazy, man.
It's incredible. You know what I mean? It really is. And those organizations are fantastic for that reason because, to bring that support to a community that really needs it.
Right. That didn't have it before, which again, bring it out like in circles.
Right?
It's just
and you could do that.
Yeah.
There could be 1,000 of those organizations. Yeah. It's still not enough for everybody who needs a helping hand or Habitat for Humanity. We've been 100%. Part of multiple habitat builds, and I've had people say to me, oh, those people are just lazy. Yeah. No, like those people who get those homes invest the amount of time it takes to build that home. They have to volunteer those hours on other projects to get those homes.
Right.
And there's nothing better than see a family. A lot of times it's a single mom and a couple kids and, whatever the situation is. But she's busting her ass to make sure that her kids don't wind up the way she wound up.
Right.
Or homeless or in a car, and that's the kind of stuff I like to be part of because it's just it's a fantastic feeling and it's nice to see somebody, it's a hand up, not a handout. That's what they call it.
Yeah, I like it.
And it's cool, you know what I mean? To
it.
put walls up on a house and know that the person standing next to you, you're going to be doing that for them a year from now because you're going to to build their house.
Yeah,
too,
I think it's a great model.
It's cool.
It's a great model.
It's cool. Yeah.
So
Jimmy Carter did something good.
Yeah, is that right? That's funny. So what's the one thing that you said? Because I like that. I think we're going to title this episode. You said, "Don't miss out on being part of something that." Don't miss out on being something part of. I think you said something like, "Don't miss out on the opportunities that you should be part of." I think is that what it was?
Yeah. So
don't miss out on the things. I can't say it again twice. We're gonna have to roll it back and use it.
We'll have to use.
That's so good. That's so good.
But I think that's what what that is you only have a chance to show up maybe that one time, right? And whether it's the first time you showed up or it's the last time you showed up, it matters to the person you showed up for. And it doesn't matter whether it's a kid, an adult, somebody that's elderly. We all, we're pack animals. Humans are pack animals. There's really not many solitary people out there, at least not happy ones.
Right.
And if you can show up and try and make somebody's day better, if it's your kid, I'm all for that. Right. Kids, I think, need all the support they can get. Especially nowadays, again, when they're torn between 7 million different directions on what they should be focused on.
Right.
But, for anybody for that matter. I love you, buddy.
Yes, love you too.
We're going to get you in the right
way. We'll figure it out, man. I'm telling you.
You got time.
This is the story, man.
You got time.
So I think for this, right? So for this, I think that's the big aha. Like looking at macro, it's like, don't miss out on the opportunity, or don't miss out on the opportunity on the things that you should be part of. And if there are things that you're not, that you should be, or whether it's with family, friends, or those people closest to you, like take that action to go do it.
Yeah, it's easy to bail on shit. I mean, we all do it. Right. We all do. This came up, that came up.
Yeah, for a second I thought you were because when you texted
No.
There he goes. Not coming.
I was, listen,
But you're John
I
Gilvary.
love you. I love what you do. And we had this discussion, like, you have a way about you that I love, and I want you to be the most successful version of Wilson that can possibly be there. And if me showing up in your office and whatever, and we're going to paint this place a different color, we're going to do whatever it takes. You know what I mean? But, that's something in my life that, there's times that I haven't showed up and I've felt bad about it.
Yeah.
So I try not to do that anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If I miss a poker game, I miss a poker game, whatever.
Right.
But, if there's an event or there's something that somebody is looking forward to me being there or needs me to be there to support them, then I got to do what I got to do. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Super valid. And like another important point you made was just that, like when you feel when you feel it enough to make that change, that's when things start
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, John. So let me ask you. I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're going to have to do this again at some point. And so question number 1 we typically ask is, what is your life's biggest regret?
it's funny. I don't have too many regrets. Maybe spending more time with my parents before they passed. We spent time with each of them. They passed at different times, obviously. They were in New York. When they got sick, they were in New York. They weren't coming to Florida. You know what I mean? So my brother would go for a couple weeks. I'd go for a couple weeks. And I feel like we spent some time. But, the last time I saw my dad before he passed, I was going to take a selfie. And I didn't. And I kicked myself for that. Not that that's a big regret.
Yeah.
But it's just something. It was a moment in time.
Yeah.
And this was the funny part of it. I said to him, is there anything I can get for you? He had some dementia. And he went like this. And I'm like, what's that? Yeah. He's like, brr. I'm like, a hand grenade? He's like,
oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was just a weird, and I laugh about it because, he was a character. He was a character. He was a character. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, not living in the same state of them. I mean, I made my life here. Right, I made a good life here. Yeah, you know what I mean? And they came they came every summer and they spent months here. So, as far as regrets on stuff I have or haven't done, I try not to miss out on stuff because I don't want to have regrets. Yeah. I don't want to look back and go, I wish I had done that with the kids. Or I wish I had, like Ryan's like, you need to come next year to Family Week because we need to go to happy hour and and you need to come to the club. So on the cruise we went on, Angie and I were at the club till 3 o'clock in the morning dancing with a bunch of 18-year-old boys. But it's something that sticks in his mind. It's something that sticks in those boys' minds.
You guys were there.
So I try not to leave regret. You know what I mean? Right. And there's probably something if I had a minute to really reflect on it. Yeah. I may have to come back for that. I may have to come back for the regret episode and say this is what I regret. Yeah, cool. That's what I regret.
Well,
you know what I mean?
So why didn't you take the selfie?
I don't know. I don't know.
Was it in that moment when he went like this?
Yeah, I think some of it was sadness and processing that moment, knowing that.
But you were like, I'm gonna.
The decline was there, and it's funny, like, I don't like the memory of seeing him sick. You know what I mean? Just like I didn't like the memory of seeing my mom sick. Yeah. Like, it's just not. That's why I went to see my friend Jeff. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's still walking around. He's got cancer in his bones. He's got cancer in his lungs. He's all banged up, but he's laughing. Yeah. He's having a good time. And when we were leaving, his wife Angela said to us, "Hey, listen, I want you to know I haven't seen him look that good in 6 months."
That's crazy.
It was cool. So it was cool. Like it was cool. I have a picture on my phone of my brother, him and I. Yeah. My brother doesn't like pictures. Yeah. Jeff doesn't like pictures. Yeah. I take pictures, whatever. But that picture is important to me.
Cool.
You know what I mean? And I may or may not go for his funeral because I don't like them. Right. But I know that I brought joy to his life while he was here, and he brought joy to mine, and that's really what matters. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'm going to start giving away spiritual hype man, little spiritual hype man pins.
Cool.
You definitely get one.
Yeah, I like it.
Definitely a spiritual hype man.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Question number 2. Outside of family and kids, what's your biggest accomplishment?
I guess business. I mean, I think that I have built a relatively successful business with a great reputation. I think I've had 1 or 2 customers in 25 years who haven't been happy. Yeah. And those were customers that it wouldn't matter what you did; they just weren't going to be happy. Right. You know what I mean? So you have to. There's just some people that it's impossible. Right. And believe me, I did everything I could, to try and make it. Right. Everything's hunky dory. It just wasn't gonna work. And I should have known it going into it because I'm a pretty good judge of. I do all my own estimating to know. Okay, well, this guy's gonna be this, or this lady's gonna need that.
Been there, done that.
So building a successful business that has multiple families that it supports, and being a part of a networking group that has brought millions of dollars into our local economy. I mean, I think that's something else. I've been there 15 years. Yeah. I started when it was 13, 14 members, and then we've grown exponentially. Yeah. So I think that those two things, and they're connected. I mean, that group has had just as much effect on success for me on my personal life and my professional life as I have on it. So
fantastic.
I think that those two things outside of family.
Yeah,
family's definitely number one.
Be,
my kids are number one, man. Like my kids are. That's it. You know what I mean?
That's everybody's. So that's why I was like, I started getting that. I was like, Okay, so question number 3: what is one thing that you're actually working on changing now that you're working through for the better of your next outcome?
So I think as I said, I'm trying to be more supportive of the people who are supportive of me. First being Angie, making sure that Monday to Fridays it's a shit show. I mean, it's just nonstop. Right. I'm up before the sun comes up, and I'm working until the sun after the sun goes down. So I want to make sure that in those moments that I can be supportive on those days, because she has a vigorous job as well, so she gets it. But trying to make sure on the weekends that I'm more present and fulfill. So I still get up before the sun comes up. I do the shit I need to get done before she gets up. And then it's like, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? Or we'll have something planned that we're going to go do that's going to be fun. I'm not always that guy. I wasn't that great. As a dad, I think I was pretty great. As a husband, probably not so much. You know what I mean? It was, this is what we're doing. And, the boys, this is what the boys and I are doing. And, you can come along if you want. I've tried to be cognizant of things I've learned in that experience of trying to be supportive of the people who are supportive of me. And as I said, I'm trying to, one night a week, I'm trying to do something with people that matter to me, because it matters to them that I'm there, and it should matter to me that they're there.
What a fucking great episode!
It's Friday. I'm here, brother. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go to dinner.
We're gonna go to
showing
dinner.
up.
That's right.
Cool. I want 2 pins now.
One
for each side.
I'm gonna get the spiritual hype man pins for sure. Okay, but very cool, very awesome, and I think it just the last thing was it reverts back to saying you're not missing out on the opportunities that you can be president.
I try. Obviously, again, the boys are away, so I don't have those events. Whatever it is, prom. There's 1,000 things when you have kids. I was talking to Lauren recently, and she's got 4 boys in 4 different sports. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I was so happy the boys did the same thing, and they're 14 months apart. So, like, they're doing, But, I'm trying to do other things. I went to the Brazilian Independence Day a couple weeks ago at the church.
Cool.
One of the guys, I have 4 Brazilian guys that work for me. They call them the Brazilian Mafia. And they're like, and the one guy's, like, hey, you got to come to this. And I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely, And then as it got closer, he's like, you're coming, right? I'm like, yeah, you're coming, right? And then the day of, he calls me. He's like, hey, you're coming today, right? And I was like, yeah. and I got to be honest. I went, and I was not looking forward to it, and I had a blast. Culturally, it was a mix of Portuguese and Brazilian. They're so much fun. And
food
was fantastic. And some chupacabra drink or something they had. It was really a cool, so I'm trying to do that too, right?
Very cool.
You have to separate work from whatever, but, one of the guys that works for me loves to fish. And he's like, oh, when you get your boat fixed, can I, I'm going to take him fishing. You know why? Because every weekend he goes fishing, and he sends me pictures because it matters to him. So it has to matter to me. Because if it matters to him and it matters to me, then that's all that matters.
You heard it here. Thank you guys for listening. And don't forget, nothing changes until you do. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Yeah. That was great.
That's good.
Yeah, no, we don't have to leave. We can leave, we can keep running. But that was a great, that was matters, boom, period. That was great, wow, what a good episode. Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't have many regrets in my life. You know what I mean? Maybe there's some shit I missed that but not with my kids. You know what I mean? Like I say, my ex-wife, I probably didn't do all the things I need. And again, it was a 2-way street.
Right.
We put that to bed, her and I. But there's not too much, like I've tried to take advantage of every opportunity. I lost a couple buddies when I was young in tragic accidents, and I'm like, I'm going to fucking, I'm going to smell the roses. I'm going to eat the ice cream. I'm going to fucking whatever, whatever it is. You know what I mean? I'm going to have a good time. And whatever. If somebody's going to fault me for that, then so be it. You know what I mean? And that's something that that I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to do those fun things because a lot of those fun things get away from you when you become busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, I'm money motivated. So instead of going to the beach party, I'm going to work.
Right.
Well, fucking, you could work any day of the week. You go to the beach party. Well, we went to the B&I happy hour a couple weeks ago. I had so much fun.
Yeah. That was fun.
I was surprised to see so much fun.
I was surprised. I was like,
and then we went to Johnny D's after, and I had so much more fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I'm getting too old for this.
That's funny, man.
I'm going to check my phone quick. It's probably Angela.
That's funny.
Hello, dear.